Hello and welcome to Overdrive. This is Rohit Paradkar. We are at the Jerez circuit in Spain to ride the new street triples. So the first session is going on right now. That gives me some time to show you what the new street triple is all about. So this is the 2023 lineup that will come to India very soon. Not all of them, but I'll come to that in a bit. Let us begin with the base model, which is the street triple R. So this is the 765 still, and the S is gone for good. So they had discontinued the S model in India, but now with the new lineup, the S model is gone for good from the global lineup. The Trident essentially fills into its shoes, and this now, the Street Triple R, is the base. So what is the Street Triple R all about? Now, what you get is a newer design. So you get a much sharper looking front end that is characterized by this new panel. If you remember, the previous R had a much larger panel, so that's gone. It's also become a bit more aggressive. The design of the headlights, the detailing of the headlights, those eyebrow DRLs, they all stay as they are. Even the suspension at the front and the rear stays as it is. So no change there as such, but this is not an updated model. This is an all new Street Triple. So they have made massive changes to the engine. So what those are is something that I'm going to touch upon in my review, but they are essentially looking at lighter components, better machining, different compression ratio, higher compression ratio, higher cylinder pressure as well. So they have made a lot of changes to those components. So the 765 engine essentially gave birth to the Moto 2 engine that the Triumph is a supplier for, and now the learnings from Moto 2 reflect in the new updated 765 engine. There's also a reworked exhaust system now, and if you see, it's one cohesive unit. The header pipes going into the collection chamber, and then this new canister. So this is one cohesive unit, so there will now be no aftermarket options for this. There'll be no Aero option, there'll be no other aftermarket option for this, at least from Triumph. And that also sort of means that there may not be any slip-on exhaust options for this. You will have to probably change the whole system, because what they've done is, instead of two catalytic converters, one a pre-cat near the header and then one in the collection chamber and in that unit, they've now just done one. They've only made one catalytic converter. So that is why a slip-on may not be possible anymore. That's one of the reasons why the slip-on may not be possible anymore. You might have to get a full system. Like I said, the suspension components remain the same, but the chassis geometry has been changed a little bit. You still continue to get that Galam swing arm as well. And the rake angle is what has changed. It's become slightly more aggressive. The wheelbase has become slightly shorter than before. If you look at the tank, the shape of the tank has changed quite a bit. You see this new sculpting. The previous one felt a little flatter on the top. This one has a new sculpting. You also get this additional panel, and it's all plastic on top now. So magnetic tank bags are not going to fit here. There's no matte finish option. You get a gloss finish here with the gray. There's also a white, which will charge a slight bit more premium, because the metallic flakes are a bit more in that paint. The paint is a little bit more expensive. So in terms of the chassis, the subframe, the design is very similar to the outgoing model. Now, if you look at the tail as well, again, you get these nice aerodynamic bits. It's a sleek looking tail. The tail light itself, the detailing of the tail light has changed now. The shape is more or less similar to the lineage, but the detailing has changed now. The lighting signature is a little different. Unfortunately, we don't have the keys to these four motorcycles here right now. Otherwise, I could have shown it to you. And then you get these LED turn blinkers as well. And there are going to be about 50 accessories. So that also includes a different set of turn blinkers, LED again, but a different design, etc. In terms of the braking hardware, even that remains the same. So you get the Brembo M4.32 brakes on this. The tires, however, have changed. Instead of the Pirelli Rosso 3 on the previous one, now what you get is a Conti Road. It's from Continental, and the tire sizes remain the same. You get a 120 at the front, a 120/70 at the front, and a 180/55 at the rear. So those tire sizes don't change. The electronics package now gets a 6-axis IMU from Continental, and that also gives you more optimized braking, more optimized ABS, more optimized traction control as well. But one new addition is combined braking. So what means is when you apply the front brakes, depending on the speed of the motorcycle, the angle, the brake pressure that you have given at the lever, it will gauge if additional brake pressure is required at the rear as well, and it will automatically apply a bit of the rear brake so that the bike is stabilized, you don't have a pronounced dive. So that is what they've done with the combined braking. Now out on the track, you will be able to turn it off, but for that you need the track mode, and that track mode is exclusive to the RS. And I'm going to come to the RS in a bit after I show you the final bits, which is the handlebar. So the handlebars on the R and the RS are 12 millimeters longer now, but on the RS you get the bar end mounted mirrors that you can see here, whereas here you get the standard mirrors just the way we had it on the previous R and RS, right? So it's the same difference is what I mean. And the console, however, the analog console now makes way for a digital unit, very similar in layout and design to what we've seen on the Trident, the Tiger, Sport 660, etc. Whereas on the RS, you again get a larger dash, a larger TFT dash, again very similar to the outgoing RS. Right, so those are the main differences, and then you also get the belly pan on the RS, and it also says for the ride. So the belly pan can be retrofitted, but the belly pan that they sell for the R doesn't have the for the ride written on it, is what I'm told. And on the exhaust canister, you will also see this additional black tip. But apart from that, the exhaust, the internals, the design, everything remains the same. It's just this black tip that you get on the RS. Now, those are the main visual differences, of course. One more is the cowl. You get this cowl on the RS. It can be replaced with the seat if you so need. If you see, the lower panel is essentially the same design. It's just the one on top that changes. Instead of the seat, you get this rear cowl. You also get exclusive colors for the RS. You get this yellow, you get the red. And there's also a gray color that you can have with the RS. And you will also see that on the RS seats, you also get this stitching, exposed stitching, to give you a bit of that premium feel from this motorcycle. So that is what you get on the RS. Otherwise, the chassis design is more or less the same, but what is different is the chassis geometry. So what you get at the front is an even sharper rake angle. If I'm not wrong, it's 23.7 degrees for the R versus the RS getting a 23.3 degrees. So there's a 0.4 degree difference between the R and the RS. The RS is sharper. And what you also get, which is not visually noticeable very easily, but we'll try to see if we can somehow see it, the tail end of the motorcycle, of the RS, is slightly taller. The tail is slightly taller. And the reason for that is the rear suspension is different, of course. You get an Öhlins rear suspension, but what they've also done is put a spacer on top. Where the mounting is, they've put a spacer, and that spacer can be removed. You can remove that spacer for the top mount, and you can regain 10 millimeters and lower essentially the seat by 10 millimeters. So you get 836 millimeter standard seat height on the RS, you get 826 millimeter standard seat height on the R. But if you remove that spacer, you will be able to make this 826 as well. And then there is a lower seat option, which reduces the seat by a further 28 millimeters. It uses a 3D mesh technology for the cushioning. So the suspension height doesn't have to be dropped, the ground clearance doesn't get affected, but you can still get 28 millimeter lower seat height. So you can get under 800 millimeter seat height for the Street Triple R if you so wish. But of course, the dynamics are going to change. The reason why they have increased the rear is for sharper dynamics, sharper turn-ins, quicker turn-ins as compared to the R. And that is the whole idea of doing a different rake angle and increasing the height from the rear. What you also get at the front is a different suspension. So both the suspension units, both the forks on the R as well as the RS, they come from Showa. However, what you get on the R are separate function big piston forks, whereas on the RS, you can adjust the compression, damping, rebound on both the legs. On both the legs of the forks, you can do that. On that, the rebound is taken care of by a separate one of the legs, and then the damping is taken care of by the other leg. So you get separate function on that. You get that adjustability on both the legs on the RS, but essentially the suspension front and rear is fully adjustable on both the R as well as the RS. There are of course differences to the power output as well. So the R is up by 3 PS, so it now puts out 120 PS of power, and the RS is up by 7 PS, so it now puts out 130 PS of power. So you get 120 there and 130 on the RS. So those are the key changes between the motorcycles. Now, in terms of the foot peg geometry, nothing really changes, but you will see an additional bracket near the chain for the RS, and on the R, you will not notice that. And in terms of the tires, in terms of the shoes, now you get Diablo Super Corsa SP version 3 on this motorcycle. So it's stickier rubber as well. So with that sharper front end and that stickier rubber, you should be able to push the bike harder, is what we are told. And if we are going to find that out after Group 2 returns, then we will head out and ride that motorcycle. And finally, we have the Moto 2 edition. Unfortunately, not coming to India. In fact, this is a limited edition. They only make 765 units of the white color and 765 units of a yellow color that they also have, and both of them are sold out. Both these colors in 765 units each are sold out. You will see that there is a numbering on the triple clamps as well. And now that numbering, this is a bit of a problem. Why? Because you get Öhlins suspension on this, and you would be tempted to put this gold standard of suspensions, right? A gold standard of forks, as they call it in the motorcycle world. You would be tempted to put that on the RS. And as you might see, it might be easy to retrofit it. But Triumph will not sell you those forks. Of course, you can get it from the aftermarket, but to mount it properly, you will need the triple clamps. And Triumph will not sell you those triple clamps either because of this numbering. So even if you were to damage this, even if you wanted to order this, you will need proof of damage and proof of ownership to be able to order it. So essentially that means you will have to run your own modifications, do your own stuff to get that front end if you're that serious about having that suspension on the standard RS. As far as the engine specs go, or the power figures go, all of that remains the same. It is essentially the suspension and the tuning of the suspension that is different on this motorcycle. The tuning of the engine remains unchanged. It's just the colors. It is a few carbon fiber bits, like the carbon fiber front fender, the carbon fiber wings that you see here, not the wings, but the carbon fiber extra tank extensions that you see here. Those are the only additional carbon fiber bits that you see here. And even the little crown is now carbon fiber on this. But like I said, the bike is already spoken for. All the limited models that they were going to build have been sold out. In terms of the braking hardware, both the RS and the limited Moto 2 edition get the new Stylemma calipers. They have moved away from the M50s. In fact, the M50s are not even available anymore. Brembo isn't selling them anymore to any of the OEs. So the M50s are gone, and in place of that come the Stylemma calipers. You also get the MCS, the adjustable levers, so you can also adjust the brake lever feel that you want. It also gets a different master cylinder, of course, compared to the R. So I guess I've covered most of the changes that you see on the 2023, or the most of the key changes on the 2023 RS and R lineup for the Street Triple. These are coming into India by next month. I think by end of March, they will be revealing prices. I think they've already started accepting bookings for the new Street Triple lineup. The R, I'm guessing, is going to be 11 plus for the ex-showroom price. And the RS, I'm guessing, is going to cross the 12.5, 13 lakh rupee mark. It could be even more than that. So we will have to wait and watch how they price it, how they place these two models in the Indian market now. But yeah, it looks sharper now. I'm guessing it is going to handle a lot better from whatever we have heard from people who have ridden it already and from the Triumph team. So that's something that we are waiting to find out. In terms of the weight, they are pretty much the same as the outgoing model. So it's not going to be any lighter, but with that sub 800 seat height that's possible with the models, and with the sharper styling, and with the advancements to the engine and the suspension setup, etc., I think it is going to be a better package than the outgoing bike. So is it that? Is it really better? Is something we will tell you in our review. So in the meantime, if you have any queries, any questions about these motorcycles, put them in the comment section below and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and before we head out, let me give you a listen on what the new engine sounds like. The new engine and the new exhaust, of course. I'm not going to rev it too much. The bikes are warming up for the track session. But yeah, it sounds a little throatier than before. Especially at idle, it sounds a little throatier than before. And from whatever I have seen with the bikes passing the start finish straight here at Jerez, it does feel like a much louder motorcycle than what it was before. And that's out of the box. So yeah, we are waiting to ride it on this track. And we'll tell you all about it very soon in our review. Thank you so much.